Everybody talks about the hybrid system in this Prius as if it's here for fuel economy only, but Toyota has been hiding something from us. That rear electric motor isn't just there for efficiency, it completely changes how this Prius behaves on the road. While other reviewers obsess over miles per gallon, I've been testing something far more interesting: how a 40 horsepower electric motor at the rear axle transforms the entire driving experience. Because here's what Toyota doesn't advertise: this isn't a front wheel drive Prius with some rear assistance, it's something completely different. What's it like? Buckle up, my friends, let's go for a drive. I'm your host, Brian Makse, racer, lover of driving fast, fun things, and on this channel, you get reviews for drivers from drivers. While everybody is talking about the efficiency story, when it comes to this new Prius, Toyota has quietly done something for drivers like you and me. They've created an electronic differential at the back that can add and subtract torque instantaneously. It's not traction control in any conventional sense. It's more like active handling management. And the best part is Toyota's hidden it in what looks to be a very efficient commuter car. And before we get into what it's like to drive, let's have a look at it in a little more depth. This new Prius uses Toyota's 5th generation hybrid system, and with this one, it's a 3-motor setup. Under the hood is a 2-liter 4-cylinder combined with an electric motor, and then there is an electric motor at the rear axle. And in total, the entire system makes 196 horsepower. The transmission is an electronically controlled CVT, and I'm sure someone's going to lecture me on that in the comments. Anyway, with that rear electric motor, that makes this Prius the all-wheel drive model. Suspension's based around McPherson struts at the front, multi-link at the rear. Steering is electrically assisted, of course. This has 4-wheel disc brakes, and of course there is some regenerative braking going on since it is a hybrid. Wheels and tires are 19s, and they're skinny little 195 wide tires on this Prius. Curb weight is a little over 3,300 pounds. And a couple of interesting features of this 2025 Prius is that it's got a digital rear view mirror, one of those camera mirrors, which I really appreciate. Plus, it has the advanced park system, so it'll parallel park view as well as reverse into a parking spot. And as many of you know, racing drivers suck at parking, so I appreciate the fact that this thing can park itself.
Did you know that 80% of you are not subscribed? Yes, it's true. 80% of you are not subscribed. I checked the data. So if you like the content on this channel, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button, make sure you like this, and if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Now back to your regularly scheduled episode.
When it comes to the Prius's performance, I'm pretty happy they've given it basically 200 horsepower. Really appreciate that. And when it comes to acceleration, a Prius is a slouch no more. Let's give it a try, shall we? Of course, the CVT asks the engine to do its thing, but getting up to speed is no problem at all. This is probably quicker than any Prius should be, but I'm not going to complain about that. That makes this Prius very much a sleeper in some ways, because you can hustle this thing fairly quickly in traffic, on the open road, and even on your favorite canyon road. And the best part is, no one is going to expect that kind of speed out of a Prius. I remember when the Prius was introduced and it looked like a Prius. Hybrids were new and it wasn't that spectacular. Now we have a Prius that has all-wheel drive, puts all of its power and torque down to all the wheels, and gets up to 60 miles an hour in about 7 seconds flat. And for me, that's very impressive. But getting up to speed, that's a different thing. And because we've got some electric motors on board, the responsiveness of this electronically controlled CVT, this is also relatively real-world quick. I'm sure I'll be destroyed in the comments by calling this transmission a CVT, but they call it a CVT, it does CVT things, and it makes the engine do what the engine does when it's attached to a CVT. That said, I understand these are pretty bulletproof and also very, very efficient. They're part of the entire package of Toyota's 5th generation hybrid system, and they make a lot of sense. But they still do CVT things. So when I ask the car to accelerate, well, What happens? Well, the engine speed instantly goes up. It sits there. It doesn't act like a traditional geared transmission. And speaking of which, this doesn't mimic a geared transmission in any way. It's honest to the Prius's ethos. We're asking for moderate acceleration here, and as I modulate the throttle, engine speed goes up and down a little unnaturally for someone who's driven geared transmissions his entire life. The way CVTs work is just a little unusual. Yes, I understand why they work this way, and they deliver in terms of efficiency as well as performance, certainly in this case, because this will do 0 to 60 in about 7 seconds flat. So I get it, but I'd love for the engine to make more natural noises as if it were mated to a geared transmission. I'm just going to stop talking about CVTs. Yes, I understand why it's here. Yes, I understand they're bulletproof, and it makes a lot of sense in context of this modern Prius. I'm sure that's part of the charm and certainly efficiency of a Prius, but I don't think most Prius drivers are asking for maximum performance like I am. I often find, for me anyway, this Prius is more enjoyable to drive in sport mode, and switching the shifter to the B, which is the more aggressive regenerative braking mode. It's not as aggressive as like a one pedal EV drive mode, that's for sure, but it does add a little bit more regenerative braking into the mix, which I do appreciate. It becomes a little bit more of a natural driving experience, but again, it makes the engine sound funny from time to time. As for the 2-liter 4-cylinder, it actually operates smoothly, and I think what undermines that is a little bit is some additional engine noise coming into the cabin when you are accelerating quickly. Maybe that's just a sound thing, but it's not like this 2-liter 4-cylinder operates roughly. That's not the case at all. It's just a little bit of that 4-cylinder engine noise makes its way into the cabin. But here's the thing about CVTs and hybrids. They're not trying to simulate gear changes because they're solving a completely different problem. While everyone complains about the rubber band effect, and I'm guilty of that, this CVT is constantly optimizing the engine's operating point for maximum efficiency as well as performance. It's like complaining that a calculator doesn't work like an abacus. You're missing the point entirely, and I'm guilty of that from time to time. This does have different drive modes, and there is a sport mode, which I think is Toyota's way of making all of this efficiency a little exciting. In sport mode, throttle response changes, the CVT holds the engine at higher speeds a little longer, and the electric motors get a little bit more aggressive with their torque delivery. It doesn't transform this Prius into a Supra, but it does make the drivetrain feel a little bit more alive than your average hybrid appliance. It's like the difference between drinking drip coffee versus espresso. Same basic ingredient, but an entirely different experience. And I don't want to forget that this Prius will drive up to 25 miles an hour on the electric motor alone, which is perfect for me sneaking up on my least favorite neighbors. Behind the wheel, we've got the familiar Prius layout. We've got a smaller diameter steering wheel, but a very comfortable seat and seating position. I'm nice and low to the floor. I can get the seating position. Perfect steering wheel adjustment, perfect. But then when I do all of those things, the top of the steering wheel rim actually blocks the instrument cluster. I'm going to show you what I mean. This is my view of the instrument cluster when I'm seated in my ideal seating position. To get out of this situation, I either have to drop this steering wheel into my lap in its lowest position, and then I can see most of the instrument cluster, or I've got to raise the seat. Neither of those things are a great solution. I really hope Toyota can fix this when they refresh the Prius, because at least for me, and I'm 5'10" on a good day, it just doesn't work for me. I've got to adjust the steering wheel in an odd position or the seat in a less than ideal position so that I can see the instrument cluster, and that makes no sense to me whatsoever. Enough about that. I'm very happy with the seating position, visibility, and everything else. I'm very happy here behind the wheel because it is a very effective seating position, save for my inability to see the speedometer. But after that, very happy here. The seat is a wonderful blend of comfort and support in this limited trim. It's heated and cooled, so I'm very happy here. And as I mentioned, visibility is excellent as well. If I remember correctly, I did complain about glare on the dash previously, and that really hasn't happened in my several days with this 2025 Prius. I wonder if they've done something about that, because it's really not been an issue here. One of the things I do appreciate is the addition of this digital rear view mirror. It's basically a camera mirror. There's a camera at the back, and these are excellent for rearward visibility. The camera allows a wider field of view. Then combine this with two large outboard mirrors, adjust these properly, and blind spots aren't real. In terms of ergonomics, this is very much modern Toyota. Everything's laid out logically. Thankfully, they've kept the actual physical buttons for the climate controls. The steering wheel has secondary controls for the audio system as well as adaptive cruise control. There is a camera view button here, which is for parking. We are going too fast, so that's not going to display right now. Then there is this park assist button, and that's something you can use if you suck at parallel parking like I do, or it will actually reverse into parking spots for you. And that I find mind-blowing, but it's definitely helpful, and especially for someone like me who sucks at parking, I really appreciate that. Love the way these shifters work as well, and it's very easy to get used to this. I do appreciate this for two reasons. It kind of functions like a mechanical shift lever, because you have to pull it over to the left and pull it back to get drive, and pull it to the left, push forward to get reverse. So a little bit of a mechanical action, which I do appreciate there. But secondly, love that it's electronic, because when I'm done driving and I've parked, I've stopped, all I have to do is switch this Prius off. I don't have to worry about the shifter at all, and then I can get out and get on with my day. This does have an automatic hold function, which is useful. Like where I live in a big city, you're always sitting at stoplights. The only problem is you have to switch this on every time you start the Prius. I took a friend for a spin the other day, and they looked at the dash and they said, for 2025, this Prius has got a little bit of an identity crisis. It's got the big screen here that wants to be an iPad like all modern cars do, but then they've kept the physical buttons for the climate controls. I told him I actually appreciate the way all of this works, because the infotainment system is simple and straightforward. There's no confusing menus. I use it on wireless CarPlay, and it works great that way. Then the actual climate controls are right here, and unlike a lot of modern cars where they bury those into the screen, I told them I think they've actually designed it this way because people at Toyota know that adjusting the temperature in the cabin shouldn't require a computer science degree. What I'm really impressed with is the way Toyota's used space inside this Prius. It's more efficient and effective than a Manhattan studio apartment. The rear seats can accommodate actual humans, at least of my height. Shocking, I know. And that cargo area swallows weekend trip supplies without any complaints. But the real genius is in the details. The cup holders actually hold cups, door pockets that fit more than a smartphone, and storage compartments that are useful and placed exactly where you'd naturally reach for them. It's like Toyota actually consulted real people who drive real cars every day instead of focus grouping engineers. Realistically, though, the second row is definitely suited to people under 6 feet, that's for sure. But otherwise, this interior is well resolved, and really appreciate that this uses a hatchback design. The rear seats split and fold, so you can fit larger items in here, and it's capable of carrying a lot of cargo. I think I first experienced this Softex upholstery in something like a TRD Pro Toyota truck of some sort, but I've come to appreciate it because it feels way more premium. And the best part is it is clearly durable and long-lasting. It'll certainly last longer than any influencer partnership deal. One of the surprises in this interior is probably what is the most practical and intuitive wireless phone charger on the planet. Your phone goes here and it stays there nice and secure. Really dig that. And on top of that, you can switch it on or off. Really appreciate that. Really well done, Toyota. This is next level wireless phone charger. Now, when it comes to handling, we need to throw this around in some corners. And of course, it's a CVT without shift paddles. There are no simulated gears. So let's see how it actually does. So roll up over the hill, onto the brake, into the turn. Turn and response, quite good. What is really impressive is how it accelerates out of a corner. The sound isn't natural, but the action really is. Pick up the throttle on exit and let's see, instant response, and we're not quite rocketing out of the corner, but we're definitely accelerating out of the corner. Never before this generation Prius would I have ever expected one of these to be fun to drive, and yet here we are. Tough corner here, off camber on the exit, and there's no push, no understeer, and that's one of the tricks that the electric motor at the rear has been tuned to actually reduce understeer. If you're not so precise with your steering or throttle inputs, it'll actually mitigate it to a certain degree, and that makes it feel much more confident in the corners. For me, anyway, I can carve a perfect line with this Prius through the corner, and when I pick up the throttle on corner exit, it just kind of shoots out of the corner. Really appreciate that, and transforms what you think about a Prius's handling. And the best part is the engagement of that motor at the rear is instantaneous because it's electric. It's not a mechanical system in any way, and they've tuned it exceptionally well. It's very, very well resolved. Another highlight is the way that this brakes. Brakes confidently, lots of braking power and all of that. But as a driver, I really appreciate a well-tuned brake pedal with great feedback, and that's exactly what this Prius has. There's no problem controlling the attitude of this Prius with some precision just with the brake pedal alone. And let's roll into a corner on the brake pedal, and let's just do that. I've got like millimeter level control. I can jump on that brake smoothly and also come off that brake pedal smoothly. It's been tuned very well. What that means to you as a daily driver, you've got a lot of confidence to be able to stop this Prius very quickly. One consideration about the dynamics of this Prius is that it rides on those 195 width tires. So there's really not an abundance of grip here, but it does allow you to play with this around its limits. And in a lot of ways, I like the fact that this rides on a narrower tire because I can play with this a little bit more easily when I'm throwing this around through the corners. And I do find that its on-limit behavior is actually fairly neutral, especially if you are picking up the throttle early when you're exiting a corner. Still, its cornering limits are definitely easy to find, and these tires do provide a little bit of auditory feedback when you are at their limits, but otherwise, very happy with the way this handles. We do have to talk about the damping for a second, and these dampers are definitely tuned for ride comfort more than anything else. I would love a damper here with just a little bit more compression and rebound control. Every once in a while, there's a little bit of secondary movement from the body. Body control could be improved, but I'm the anomaly here. I think Prius buyers definitely value that comfortable ride first more than they are interested in throwing this around through the corners or would appreciate some more aggressive damping. And since we're still talking about handling, let's throw it around through the corners again. And as soon as I turn the steering wheel, I've got tremendous confidence that I'm going to be able to carve the perfect line, just absolutely perfect. Again, tough corner, off camber on the exit. And the other thing about the suspension, this is a very rough road surface. The suspension is doing an incredible job of soaking up the bumps and making sure the tires are in contact with the road surface, which is exactly what you want. Those are ideal handling characteristics. And sure, while I find the ride a little too soft from time to time on rougher road surfaces, the damping is just about perfect. Like I've been saying throughout this episode, that electric motor at the rear isn't there just for additional traction. It's actively influencing this Prius's handling dynamics. For example, during cornering, it can actually slow the inside rear wheel while simultaneously adding drive to the outside rear wheel, effectively and subtly rotating the car through a corner. It just makes it feel much more confident in the corners. It's like having a very sophisticated co-driver who anticipates what you need before you know you need it. It's so subtle that most drivers will never notice that it's there, but it is active enough, and it might just be the difference in terms of keeping you out of trouble when you've created a very complicated physics problem. One of the unsung heroes of this entire hybrid system is the braking system, and that's because they have to blend actual brake actuation where the pads come in contact with the rotors with regenerative braking that's part of this hybrid system. It's kind of like conducting an orchestra where half the musicians are acoustic and half of them are electric. And then somehow the conductor needs to make them sound like one cohesive performance. Toyota's engineers have tuned the pedal feel so well that you can't tell when the system switches between regenerative and friction braking. And this braking system works so well that you'll forget you're driving a hybrid until you check the fuel mileage and then wonder if the gauge is broken. In terms of specing yours, all I can say is after experiencing this Prius Limited all-wheel drive, I really appreciate all of the features, functions, luxuries that are part of this limited package, save for this maximum yellow. This probably would not be my choice. It's a little too bold for my liking. But as far as I'm concerned, this Prius Limited all-wheel drive has an excellent value proposition, and it's certainly more justifiable than my explanation about why I need more cameras to shoot car reviews. Here's the truth about this Prius Limited. It's not going to make your pulse quicken, and it's not going to give you something to talk about at dinner parties. But it will reliably get you anywhere you need to go using less fuel than seems reasonably possible, while keeping you and your passengers comfortable and connected the entire time. And in a world where cars are increasingly becoming smartphone accessories with wheels, Toyota has created something that remembers cars can be enjoyable transportation first and entertainment second. And that's either refreshingly old school or disappointingly practical, depending on your automotive priorities. This modern Prius proves that efficiency, driving enjoyment, and style aren't all mutually exclusive, but it did take them about 25 years to figure it out. And another thing about this Prius is that it delivers on everything Toyota promises. It's like finding a politician who keeps their campaign commitments, and that's extremely rare and noteworthy. Thanks for hanging out with me today and having a look at this 2025 Toyota Prius Limited all-wheel drive. Hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, you're not new, you know what to do. Smash the subscribe button, turn on your notifications like this, and as always, sharing is caring, so please share this with your friends, especially on Reddit, because on Reddit, they really need to see reviews for drivers from drivers. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comments below. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And if you want to support the channel, please hit up our merch store. Links here, links below. Lots of great stuff for driving enthusiasts like us, including our very popular line of Save the Manuals merch. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you again next time. And remember, cars don't understeer by themselves, not even Toyota Priuses. And since you've hung around this long, have a look at something that I refer to as the anti-Prius. It's the latest Toyota Corolla hybrid, and I think it's an interesting contrast to this Prius. It makes a completely different argument for a hybrid four-door Toyota compact sedan. Have a look at that episode. I think you might like it. Thanks again for watching. See you again next time.